Imports to the US from China are now subject to a minimum 104% tariff. US President Donald Trump tacked on even higher tariffs than initially announced after Beijing didn't back off its promise to impose 34% retaliatory tariffs. Trump also signed an executive order tripling tariffs on goods worth less than $800 from China. This will impact Americans who order from sites like Shein, Temu, and even AliExpress. Asian and European stocks traded lower and US stock futures tumbled after the tariffs hit. With several $1 trillion in the market value of US stocks wiped away in the week since Trump announced the tariffs, forecasts of an outright global recession have grown.
China has promised to take resolute and effective measures to safeguard its rights and interests, hours after US President Donald Trump's 104% tariffs on Chinese imports took effect on Wednesday. Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesperson Lin Jian told a regular news conference that the United States is still imposing arbitrary tariffs on China and relentlessly applying extreme pressure. He said that China firmly opposes this and will never accept such domineering and bullying behavior. China and the United States have been involved in a game of tit-for-tat on trade, with Beijing standing firmly against each new tariff introduced by Washington. After the latest round kicked in on Wednesday, Lin told media that the United States needed to demonstrate an attitude of equality, respect and mutual benefit if it truly wanted to resolve the trade war through dialogue. Lin added that if the United States disregards the interests of both countries and the international community and insists on waging a tariff war and trade war, China will fight to the end.
Asian stocks plunged during Wednesday's trading session after President Donald Trump's latest batch of sanctions on China came into force, helping wipe off Tuesday's limited gains and compounding a turbulent week for the world's key indexes. The latest tariffs came into force with key Asian markets already open.
In Japan, the Nikkei index dropped more than 5% in response, while the broader Topix index slipped 4.6%. The Nikkei closed down 3.93% and the Topix down 3.4%. Stocks in Taiwan fell more than 5.7%. Singapore's STI index slipped 2.4%. South Korea's KOSPI index lost 1.8%. Australia's S&P ASX 200 lost 1.8%. And India's NIFTY 50 dropped 0.4%. Shanghai's SSE Shanghai Composite Index, which has fewer international investors and is buoyed by the state-owned investors known as the National Team, posted gains of 1.1% despite the new tariffs. US stock market futures indicated continued uncertainty despite the White House touting possible deals with as many as 70 nations seeking to avoid the impact of Trump's tariff campaign. United States stocks closed lower on Tuesday, marking a major reversal from a rally that sent the S&P 500 and Nasdaq up more than 4% earlier in the day. Trump has offered investors mixed signals about whether the tariff will remain in the long term, describing them as permanent, but also boasting that they are pressuring other leaders to ask for negotiations.
We're making a fortune with tariffs, $2 billion a day. Do you believe it? I was told $2 billion a day. You know, I get hit by the press about tariffs. We're making $2 billion. This isn't 35 million, that's peanuts. $2 billion a day. In addition, we have a lot of countries coming to see us that want to make a deal. And we're doing things that nobody's ever even thought about. We're going to hold up. This bill that we're working on now is the best I think we've ever passed. I think it's the best thing we'll get it passed. But I think it's going to be the most important thing we've ever passed. It's the best thing we've ever passed. And I do think that the war with the world, which is not a war at all, because they're all coming here. Japan is coming here as we speak. They're in a plane flying, lots of them, all tough negotiators. But things that people wouldn't have given us 2 years ago, wouldn't have even thought of it 2 years ago, 3 years ago, 5 years ago, 7, they're giving us everything. They don't want tariffs on themselves. And it's very simple. We're making deals and people are paying tariffs. Countries are paying tariffs. Right now, China is paying a 104% tariff. Think of it, 104%. Now, it sounds ridiculous, but they charged us for many items 100%, 125%. Many countries have. They've ripped us off left and right. But now it's our turn to do the ripping. That's okay. We're going to make our country even stronger than it ever was.
Trump's administration has scheduled talks with South Korea and Japan, two close allies and major trading partners, and Italian Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni is due to visit next week. The Deputy Prime Minister of Vietnam is set to talk with Trump's Treasury Secretary. The prospect of deals with other countries had pushed stock markets up earlier on Tuesday, but US stocks had ceded their gains by the end of the trading day. The full effects of Wednesday's tariffs may not be felt for some time, as any goods already in transit as of midnight will be exempt from the new levies as long as they arrive in the United States by the 27th of May. Trump's earlier across-the-board 10% tariffs on all imports from many countries began last Saturday.